Thanks for tuning in, you guys. So I'm going to start off with some die cuts. These are from Tim Holtz Alterations dies, the Dressform, and cut a couple of these stands and two sets of wings, painting it white, and then I painted it cream. I'm just going to use some Studio Matte Medium, which is a glue, but I'm going to use it for some image transferring. So I'm going to be doing the music sheet on the stands and also on the wings on both sets. I'm gonna just plop them down on the sheet there and set them aside so they can start drying. So I just cut off the excess, trying to make sure it's as dry as it should be, and wetting my finger, I'm just gonna let the water soak into the paper and then gently rubbing. Takes quite a little bit of time, but to me it's so well worth the look. And I'm trying not to add too much of the water. I'm just trying to get just the paper wet because I don't want my chipboard to soak any of the water and cause it to swell. So I'm going to just be careful with that. And I'm trying to rub off as much of the paper as I can because I want to expose as much of the print that I can. And just to help it along, I'm just going to file off little excess, little hairy areas, little fibrous areas. So I did that to the stand and the wings. I'm just showing you different stages of them here. So now that they're done, they're all dry. That's what they look like. So I'm going to start on the skirt, and I saw this, I don't remember exactly who did it, but it was on Pinterest. I saw a dress form and it had a bunch of laces hanging off the waist, and I loved that look. So I measured this waist. It was 2 inches from the waist to the bottom of the form. So doubling that at 4 inches, I went a little extra at 5 inches. So I cut 5-inch strips and just tied a knot to some jute string, and I tried to add enough to where it was about 1.25 inches wide, and that should be enough to cover the very front of the dress form, using various different kinds of laces from Wild Orchid Crafts, some of their seam binding in the cameo beige and the I guess it's cream, and then I used white. One of them is a little thick, but I really love the texture of it, so I wanted to use it. And then these are a couple of that are discontinued, so I needed to use them up. But they have some new laces out, you guys, and I'll show you that as soon as my design team kit comes in. So I created this skirt, and they're all like different lengths. Looks really cool. So I end up painting the back side of that dress form because I don't know exactly how I'm going to position what and put what where. So I wanted to hide the chipboard. So here I'm going to add some crackle accents to the 2 front pairs of the wings. And I guess I'm doing that to make it stand out a little more. I am going to do the 2 pairs of wings for her. But I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm just wanting it to stand out and to show that there are 2 pairs of wings and it's not one big full wing. I don't know. I just did it just 'cause. So here is, I'm just roughing up and distressing the chipboard. And this helps to make it look aged and handled and worn and stuff. So once I get it all the way around the dress form and exposing, some areas of chipboard, I'm going to end up inking it up so that it picks up some what looks like staining, I guess. And it highlights the chipboard and yellows just a little bit more of the edges when using the distress ink. And again, I'm using old paper distress ink for this entire project. Just rubbing excess off. On the wings, I did the same thing. I exposed some of the chipboard and removing a little bits and pieces of the paper and the paint. And then I edged it with the old paper distress ink. And here you can see the top layer has the crackle, the back pair of wings does not. So I'm gonna try and, I don't know why, I was just so terrified to glue the wings on. I didn't want to get them all crooked and stuff, and so, I mean, eventually I had to do it. Here I'm rubbing some old paper distress ink on the laces too, just to give it a little bit more grungier, shabbier look. See, I didn't even glue the wings on at that time yet, but I will in a sec. So this is some cream colored cheesecloth. I have cream and white, and I wanted to hide a little bit of the jute rope. So I tied a little bit around the waist, and then I end up having had another piece here that I added to the skirt. And it adds that tattered look, that shabby look to the skirt, and I really liked how it looked. I probably should have added another one, I think, on the other side, but I only had those two strips at the moment, so not a big deal. It frays and some of the pieces fall, but none of it's falling now because it's all tight and I'm not really touching it and stuff. So this is a new die cut shape that I have. It's a fancy mini top note, and I just added that to my AccuCut die cut listing. I have the larger version as well, but this one is it's such a cute little one. So I just mixed a couple paints there, a rose petal pink by Making Memories and some vintage white to tone that down, and I'm just going to do a full coverage on both sides. I do end up doing the edges, but not until after these sides were dry. All right, now I gotta bite the bullet and glue these on. So yeah, I was terrified. I didn't want them to come out crooked, but I messed with them so much I just felt like, okay, I think I can do this. So I just hot glued them down at the edge there. And I am gonna do the two front ones first. You know, I could have left it like that. It looked really cool, but I had already had the other ones done, and I thought it would be cool to have them look fuller with two sets of wings. Make it look layered, how wings normally do anyways. So here I'm just going to go ahead and glue them on. And I think one of them was a little bit crooked, just a tad, and I hope that you guys can't tell. But they look okay. So here, because I do have two pairs of wings, it does end up leaving a gap. You know, I don't want to glue the dress form down and it's just the form pressed down into the top note. So I want to fill the gaps in. So I add in some chipboard, 2 layers of scrap squared pieces of chipboard on the top and the bottom. And I add one stand. And I believe I did add a couple of strips, or actually one more little strip of chipboard on the stand. I'm not positive if I did or not. Just trying to figure out where to put it. And I'm going to add this heart. This is a leftover heart from the card I made in the last video from Anna's card. So here I'm going to just add gesso and just around the edges, and I'm going to add some streaks into this one too. So I just add with the applicator and then I rub it with my finger. And then again, I just add some more paint with the applicator and then rub it with my finger. Just make it a little streaky. I'm going to set it aside to dry. And then just dab it all over the dress form. Came out looking pretty good. I really liked it. This is Melissa Francis, one of her releases from last year. I think is winter last year. C'est la vie. Beautiful pastel colors. Gorgeous paper. So I ended up using a very light print. It's a very light pink print of cherubs and angels. And there's a detailed picture on my blog because I didn't realize I didn't have a clip here to show you on the video. But there's a detailed picture really up close. You can see a little angel, a little fat angel. They're so cute. So I am going to do this, like this gesso side is the one that's showing because I didn't want to cover it with the paper, of course. So on the other side, I did the paper. And you can see that there's some images of pink or something on there. Super cute paper. So I'm going to clean up the edges by filing them off as I do all the time when I add paper to chipboard. So it has that nice clean look. And I wanted to add some more distressing to it. So I'm rubbing off little areas of the paper. What I want to do is take off some of the print of the angels, showing the white core of the paper down to the paint that's on the chipboard. And I had an idea to scrape off a little bit of the paint to expose some chipboard, but man, that paint was thick. And, even though I was using the emery board, it just wouldn't scratch off as much as I would like it to have. So I just left it. I tried and I attempted in some areas and couldn't get the chipboard to expose, but it looked fine. So I'm like rubbing there and trying to get it to chip off and it won't come off. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just make a few other areas that same distressed look. Make it look really handled. I'm just adding some old paper distress ink again in some areas. Now when you're rubbing off this paper, you want to make sure that you are rubbing from the outside in so that you're not peeling and peeling and peeling more paper. Kind of contain your area. Here's some Studio Matte Medium again, and I'm just going to add some French book paper. Do image transfers on this too. I could just peel off the excess paper and just leave what was showing there, but I didn't want to. I'm kind of into doing the image transfers right now, so. And in doing so, I did find two words. I found the word Paris and I found the word Madam on. So I just cut them out, and I'm gonna add them to the heart because it just looks cute. So I'm just gonna peel off some of the extra paper. Some of it's still wet, so I couldn't do that. So I'm just gonna rub it off and do the image transfer again on all. I think it was 4 pieces, 4 areas that I have book paper on there. Have to be careful not to rub off the designer paper because that was really challenging. So I did. I ended up getting it. It turned out fine. So here it is. I already did all of the pieces I wanted to do. Distressing a little bit more. A little bit more of the old paper distressing. And I wanted to re-yellow, if that makes sense, on the notebook paper a little bit. So, oh yeah, I did add some more chipboard to the stand. So she's looking really good. I'm going to add her to the right side of the fancy top note chipboard die cut. Roughen up the doily. This is from Cherry Lynn Dies. I use this one all the time. I have another couple, but I don't know why. I always grab for this one. So I distress the edges and rough them up. And that way the ink kind of highlights because it soaks in really good when you rough up the fibers of the paper. So I'm going to add some Lindy Stamp Gang Scintillating Silver. I was down to the last bit in my bottle and there was nothing but like pure glitter down at the bottom. So it came out super, super glittery. And just dry it really quick because I don't want it to warp at all. And I found some loose areas. So I decided, oh, I got to do the peel back kind of look. So I did that on some spots, roughed it up, and I lifted some areas too. I think I lifted some chipboard on this corner. And that edge too. I'm just going to spray some scintillating silver on the top part of her too. Came out super shimmery, really pretty and tattered. I really love this project. So here's some stickles. I believe this was Picket Fence that I'm using, or Rock Candy, one of the two. And this kind of gives that crystally icy look. I really, really love it. So I'm adding it to some of the areas just kind of randomly throughout the piece. You see the shimmer? Oh my God, that's so pretty. It's almost done there. I'm grabbing a wild rose from Wild Orchid Crafts, added some Victorian velvet just around the edges to kind of give it a semi two-tone look, and so I can add that to the project there. Here I'm just measuring where I'm going to add my holes so that I can string my ribbon through it. And I'm using some silk ribbon from Wild Orchid Crafts that is super, oh gosh, this silk ribbon is gorgeous. It's so super soft. I have a couple different colors in the pink tone, but I ended up going with this rose colored, and they don't have it anymore when I went to look for some more. So, oh well. They have another kind of a rosy color and beigey pinkish color, so they have quite a variety of colors. So this is a vintage bling that I found at an antique store. Actually, it was a pack of like 8 or something. So I just tied it to some seam binding and wrapped it around her, or made a bow. Sorry, made a bow and then tied it with some crochet string. So here's the silk ribbon I was telling you about. It's about an inch and a half, inch and a quarter, something like that wide. So, and I didn't put eyelets on this because I didn't want any of it to snag on the back side. As you can see, it's like the stringed part is on the back side, so you have to make sure that that's even because I glued it and I glued some of the ribbon down really well. So I'm just going to glue her down to the, kind of on the right, off to the right, right centered, I guess. Here's some more cheesecloth. I'm going to add my little rose there to it. And I do add a couple of other flowers on there in a little bit, I'll show you. I'm going to add my doily. And I do go back to reinforce that piece because it's kind of little, it lifts on some of the areas, so I'm going to go back and reinforce it. An extra heart that was left over from my card in the last video. These are some beautiful sweetheart blossoms in an ivory. And I have links to all of these flowers and all the ribbons and seam binding that I can find on the website. It's all the links are down in the description. Actually, no, the descriptions are there, but the links to the products are on my blog, as well as these here. These little roses and closed roses and those itty bitty funny flowers. Those are from a spray that they don't have anymore, but they do have them separate. So I can't remember if they're gypsophilas or if they're the other ones. There's 2 that look very similar. But anyways, the links are down over on my blog so you can get to them there. So that's pretty much my project. I hope you guys liked the tutorial. I had so much fun with this. Please check out the links below and check out what everyone else is making on the design team over on the Wild Orchid Crafts YouTube channel. Thanks so much, you guys, for watching.